first order of business will be the approval of the minutes from the March, or from the February 17th meeting. Did anybody have any additions or corrections to add? Motion for approval.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. At our March 9th meeting, the council introduced the ordinance 232, which is the adoption of the budget and setting of the tax rates for FY27. We'll be holding a public hearing at the April 13th meeting and anticipate passing the budget at that meeting. We also did a small budget amendment for some software for water work. It helps us with tracking and planning utility rates and upcoming projects in the future, capital projects and that sort of thing. We also passed resolution 2-25 annexation petition for the Hall property, which did pass at the March meeting. And we had a couple of liquor license letter supports just for events, extension of premises. And we also did a budget amendment for a little bit more money for the purchase of an electric shuttle. We had in the last year's budget, we had to purchase a tram, which we did from Ocean City for larger events that it can be pulled by a truck. And we also are purchasing, in the process of getting a 6-passenger electric golf cart that would be able to be used more on a regular basis. It could possibly be like a ringer ride from the wharf. If somebody showed up and needed a ride, they could call the town office and one of us could take it down and pick up passengers. Or we can use it, the plan is to use it between all the parking lots around the square on busier evenings like Friday and Saturday nights to help utilize people at the outer parking lots, make it easier, especially if it's raining or something like that. So that was everything. Any questions? Okay, no.
Okay, then we will move on to our first order of new business, which is case number 33-25, McIntosh Professional Center Concept Plan. The property is, well, I guess you would always say that in your part.
Yes,
How can you do that?
All right, so to give you a little bit of project description, the property is located on the south side of Maryland Route 5, directly behind the existing Domino's Pharmacy and the Better Black Coffee. The site development plan is proposing two 12,000 square foot flex space buildings with utilities. The proposed buildings are one-story buildings with a frontage height of 20 foot 3 inches and a rear height of 19 foot. The proposed site would be adjacent to the proposed Tractor Supply, still in the final design stage. The proposed site received the Tractor Supply, received concept approval April 25th. No, I'm sorry, let me back up. This site has seen concept approval once on April 25th, 2005, was renewed on February 19th, 2008, and again on November 26, 2012, for the following facilities: a 3-story, 47,500 square foot hotel, 31,170 square foot retail space, 11,051 square foot office space, and a 2,936 square foot restaurant, and a 2,700 square foot bank. I have attached a color illustration that was part of the original approvals for reference. The proposed plan meets with requirements of the Town Municipal Code, Chapter 15532 for permitted uses, commercial highway, zoning. Condition upon demonstrating strict compliance with Chart A, height, bulk, and area requirements. Not less than 10% of the gross lot area shall be devoted to landscape green areas, including all side, front, and rear yards. The required landscaping is 10,111 square feet. The submitted concept plan reflects proposed landscaping in the amount of 37,556 square feet, which exceeds the requirements. Excuse me. The project is being proposed as a flex space facility, therefore it can have occupancy types that vary based on this information. The town planning department utilized the 4 most stringent use requirements and average that would require parking to be 85 parking spaces. The proposed concept plan is proposing a total of 98 parking spaces, which includes 5 handicap spaces as shown on the plan. The proposed concept plan will be utilizing a shared access easement approximately 40 foot in width, which includes additional utility easements to service the subject property. The site development plan received concept approval from both St. Mary's County Soil Conservation District on November 7th and St. Mary's County Department of Public Works and Transportation on December 9th, 2025. The staff recommendation is, has determined that the proposed concept site development is in compliance with the 2025 comprehensive plan and town municipal codes, and recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission review the documents provided and provide a concept approval for the project.
That was a lot.
It was.
Does anybody have any questions that they want to ask about this?
I guess my main one is the traffic impacts. 98 parking spots, there's a lot of vehicles to be coming out on that part of the road where it's already difficult if someone is trying to turn left. What kind of considerations?
Well, so I do know that, based on conversation with the consultant today, that there's a couple minor SHA comments that need to be addressed. However, the tractor supply is placed in, and I don't know that you can see it, but I can show you here, a deceleration lane from here back up into here, which is adding an additional turning lane into the property. But SHA has not given us any other comments as far as I was concerned.
So that turning lane would be from traffic traveling south.
Southbound to give them a deceleration lane into the property.
It's really the northbound traffic either entering or exiting that is more problematic, I would think.
Well, you have that center line, I don't know how wide it is right there. I mean, the state highway hasn't said anything to us about that.
I'm trying to remember how far down does that center lane go? It doesn't go that far, does it?
I think it starts narrowing at the entrance to the Domino's Pharmacy, but I don't know to what degree does it narrow down to just, I don't know whether the consultants can speak to that or not.
How close is this to where the bank is?
The PNC Bank?
Yeah.
So this would be south of the PNC Bank, I would guess about 300 feet maybe.
Yeah, not very far. I know, I mean, that's a real problem for the bank because you don't have any turn lane down there. I should have looked at, I should have known and paid more attention to the turn lane.
Was it with this
You
night?
have do you know where?
No, ma'am, I just wanted to say, I'm 99% sure that turn lane starts right about Clark's Rest. It's not in front of the old Pennies. That turn lane is not there.
Going to,
Yeah, I think,
is this obviously, Clark's Rest area was where there was going to be a light eventually. And I'm surprised SHA hasn't said anything about that, considering they've been putting that on.
I can't speak for SHA.
Yeah. So,
I can just give you the history. So, when Clark's Rest was built, Marek was required to put the turn lane in. It does end prior to the Penny's entrance, the old Penny's entrance. It is designed to go all the way to Newtown Neck Road and down to Birchmart, but they only have, had Clark's Rest build the section in front of the Marek property. Marek built the section in front of Clark's Rest, excuse me. There is a light that's been approved, and Tudor Hall is moving forward, and that light will go at the intersection of Tudor Hall, which lines up with Clark's Rest. And so that will be part of the first phase of Tudor Hall, that a light goes in there. So there is, adding the decel lane will definitely be helpful coming south. It's not gonna correct the problem that, until State Highway does the full widening all the way out to Newtown Neck. But the light will help to give a break in the traffic, which we don't have today, which we've been fighting for years, to get the light there at the Clark's Rest
And I
intersection.
believe that will all eventually be attached to all of this, so that should help, I mean,
Yeah.
not initially, but there will be more access
Yes.
once Tudor Hall begins.
And so, to answer the question a little bit better, you guys just saw the GIS aerial that the county provides. And so there is, in fact, a tapered turn area, but it, like I said, at the beginning of the Domino's property to approximately the joint or contiguous property line with Tractor Supply and Domino's, it goes from a width, and I don't know that width, to nothing. So
Yeah.
there, it tapers right there at that spot.
And even if it's a taper, if you're going to turn in there, you're gonna be sticking out into the
Absolutely,
even if it's a taper lane. It will be, the traffic will be a problem for a while until they ever get that light in, but who knows how long that'll take. But I don't know whether this is a whole lot more, if there's a whole lot more traffic than on the first concept plan, back when it was gonna be a rough.
No, this is, so in your package, you'll see that I included a photo of what was approved prior,
Yeah,
and the traffic that would have generated prior to the widening of Route 5 would have been significantly more.
right.
Are there any road adjustments we can say we need to see before this is approved?
It's State Highway, we can't approve road improvements on there. It has to be coming from State Highway.
It's not like, well, like on Washington Street, when you come in and you tell them to make a wider lane.
One of the things that we're kind of working on is possibly a road behind McIntosh Run State Development. Once Tudor Hall goes in, if we can try to, because of the town owns land back there, so it's not State Highway overseeing it.
Well, that would certainly help.
Yeah, and certainly, like I said, we've been trying to get the light at the Clark's Rest intersection, but they won't let it go in until Tudor Hall gets started, which they have submitted their plan. They'll be starting through the process, and that's in phase 1, they would put the light in. It's already been approved.
Is that the same with putting in the center turn lane and redoing it to Newtown Neck? Is that?
That is not in in their funding at this point. They did the section from the hospital to join where Clark's Rest had done the improvements there. So it goes now from the hospital up to the Clark's Rest, past the Clark's Rest entrance. And that goes all the way to the end where the Excel lane is, I think. But it's they do not have funded the rest of the project at this point. The state just doesn't have the money.
Right. Okay, so there's no timeline on that until funding is done,
Right.
and that's the state, that's all that.
Well, we're not gonna be able to solve that, because that's not a problem for us to solve,
Right.
unfortunately.
And they do review all these plans.
Yeah, it's just there, and we can't let it stop our progress either.
Can I
Anybody else have any?
say one thing? When the state highway was doing the line working and the work that they did out there must have been 2 years ago, whatever. Anyway, we'd made contact with them even before they were getting ready to do the striping and all that out there. Because one of the things I wanted to sit down and talk to them, to set up 5 meetings, 5 times, nobody ever showed up to the meetings from State Highway. Because it can be extended further down where the mini storage is on the right. There's a lane that they actually dedicated out. And there is room that I'm gonna call it the turn lane, could have been extended down, but no one would ever meet with me before they painted it. Of course, yeah, here we are. But,
And I can verify, I mean, he did try to
Yeah.
get a meeting with them over and over again.
Oh, I
as he
believe that,
yeah.
Yeah.
Because it could be done, could have been done.
I know. I don't have any other questions about the development. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? No. Now we are at stop Congress. Does somebody want to make a motion?
I will make a motion. I move to approve case number 33-25 McIntosh Professional Center for concept site development approval for the construction of 2 one-story, 12,000 square foot flex space buildings with associated parking and infrastructure.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No, we'll just add, we have a meeting coming up with State Highway again, an annual, or a monthly, quarterly, they usually cancel, but sometimes we end up having it, and I can bring it up to them again, because there is a way to do it, it's just they need to restrike it. But I will mention it again, that more development is happening there, if they can at least meet with us and look at it.
Yeah, I think it's important. It's horrible now. and
Yeah.
it's just gonna be
I know.
worse.
I know.
And the traffic's worse now than it was when we did the first concept plan. But I know, we just keep talking to them. Our next order of business is case number 43-25, Singletree Quad Duplex Concept Plan.
So, thank you. So the subject property is located on the east side of Miss Bessie Drive, directly across from St. Mary's Hospital. The applicant is proposing a concept site development plan for one 2-story quad duplex building with a building area of 3,600 square foot, and that's both floors, consisting 1,800 square foot per floor, together with associated utilities, parking, and infrastructure. The building height is 25 feet. The property is located within a PUDM mixed-use plan unit development district. The proposed site development plan has been reviewed for compliance with the Town of Leonardtown Municipal Code, Chapter 155, Article 9. Pursuant to 155-23B, multifamily units, including duplexes, townhouses, and apartments, may constitute no more than 20% of the total number of residential units permitted in a mixed-use plan development, unless the open space provided in 155-21C is at least 50% of the total area of the development, in which case multifamily units may constitute no more than 35% of the total number of residential units permitted in the development. In addition, the density of development for those portions of the site proposed for multifamily may not exceed 10 units per acre. The Town Planning Department reviewed the original approved PUDM and to the best information available determined that the development contains 160 single-family lots on 75.1 acres, 14 commercial business office lots on 39.4 acres, and 10 existing duplex lots on approximately 1.7 acres. And 8.96 acres of open space, stormwater management area as provided as part of the original PUD. The original PUD encompasses approximately 123.5 acres, more or less. Based on this information, staff finds that there is 165 single-family lots, 75 acres, 14 commercial business offices, again, 39 acres, 10 existing duplex lots at 1.7 acres, which is 6%, and 8.96 acres of the open / stormwater management area that had been provided as part of the original PUD approved. The original PUD, therefore, an additional 14% of the PUD could be developed with duplexes, townhouses, and apartments. The proposed duplex is utilizing less than 3% or 0.44 acres of the available development within the PUD. Pursuant to 15523B, each planned unit development shall provide for the visual and acoustic privacy of each dwelling unit to include possibly fences, walks, and landscaping, and are provided for the protection to aesthetic enhance of the property, the privacy of its occupants, the screening of objectable views or uses, and the reduction of noise. The concept plan provides landscape screening along the rear property line and along the northern property line adjacent to the existing single-family dwelling. Pursuant to Chapter 155, Chart B, multifamily dwellings are required to provide 2 parking spots per unit. Based on the proposed 4 units, the project is required to provide a total of 8 parking spaces. The site development plan reflects the required parking, including 1 ADA accessible parking space. The site development plan has been reviewed by the required agencies and received concept approval from St. Mary's County Department of Public Works and Transportation on February 4th, 2026. And staff finds that the concept development plan meets with the requirements of 155, 116A and B of the town code. The town staff has determined that the proposed concept site development plan is consistent with the 2025 comprehensive plan and the applicable provisions of the town of Leonardtown Municipal Code. Staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission review the submitted documentation and recommend concept approval to the town council to allow the project to proceed to final design. Now, I did put together a slideshow just so that I can explain a little bit of the history of the project. So the Singletree Section 8 concept plan was approved May 17, 1999. In April of 2001, Singletree record plat was approved for the 7 through 12 lots 7 through 12. In 1984, the particular area that I have designated in red, which says site, was specifically designated for duplexes, apartments, and single family both. This is a 2004 zoning map of the PUD, which designates the same area again as PUD, not single family or residential single family. This is a zoning map from 2010 that also represents the same area as PUDM. And then in 2026, the map is showing that is also PUDM. The reason why I wanted to bring that to your attention is because this property has always maintained PUD zoning, okay? And so therefore, it is entitled to those developments as I referred to in the staff report for those percentages. So with that, if you have any questions, I'll do my best to try to answer.
So my first question is, the Singletree has their own restrictive covenants. How do they relate to us and our decisions and what binds us and doesn't bind us?
Well, I'm certainly no attorney, but in reading the covenants and restrictions, it appeared to me to apply to the folks that already own homes there, and that would keep development, in other words, they wouldn't be able to put something like decks on the back of their houses or, you know, those kinds of things on their property that didn't meet with what they wanted. But that requires an HOA, and so an active HOA.
Anybody else have any questions?
Well, I have another one. The look of the building, I don't think it meets the design compatibility requirements that we are allowed to enforce by any means. The houses and the covenants, you know, Singletree, they talk about Williamsburg design and traditional design, and this building is completely different than the houses around it and in fact a commercial building. So I would like to see, I'd like to let the developers know that I would like to see it, you know, a design that looks more like the buildings around it when they come back for final design.
I think that is good feedback to go back for when we do the architectural reviews, that we would be looking for something that fits more with the buildings that are there, both the house on the other side and the medical buildings. They would need to be fitted with all the buildings that are around the hospital.
I guess, and this might be a stupid question on my part, but you keep referring to duplex, and this is a quadplex. What are you gonna say, 2 duplexes make a quadplex? I mean, it probably is a stupid question, but I have adjoining property, and I really don't appreciate what they're trying to do, because I think it ruins the rest of us. We've been there a long time, and that's, you know, we bought houses and we bought lots knowing that it would stay as a single-family home, just like the rest of Singletree. You're not gonna put one of those in the middle of Clark's Rest or Leonard's Grant or the new town, whatever, Meadows or whatever it is. Why would you wanna do it to us? We pay taxes just like everybody else in the town, and we should be entitled to have our neighborhoods look the same.
Okay, I think that pretty much has been explained. Do you want to?
Well, we can call it a quadplex. I mean, it's multifamily, you know, so,
But you're saying duplex.
It's 4 units.
okay, quadplex.
But does the rules you read did not say quadplex, they said duplex.
And I am the owner of Lot 12, and I have a joint access easement with Lot 11. And my lot is right on the other side of this, and then is the office complex on the other side of that, which the office complex is all fenced in. It never affected any of us out in that area. It was purposely set up that way when it was approved. So for me, as owner of Lot 12, where does this leave me? Nobody wants to put a single-family residence, which is how we bought that property and we've kept it before. I never got a notice of any of this, so this is a complete zoning change for me with all the PUD and all of that. But where does this leave me with joint use access? I'm a little lot left on the side, and then the adjoining lots beside us.
Well,
It isn't how we were established, it wasn't why we were there, so what do we do now?
so in my documentation that I had on the TV, I've shown that the property was always PUD, okay? It wasn't a zoning change. The other thing is that this is simply a recommendation to town council for review, because they have to review and approve all PUD development.
And you noted, and that's noted on the site plan. It says this appears to be in a PUD M on the site plan that I have.
If I could clarify something, okay, first of all, this is not a public hearing, you're certainly allowed to let them speak. We just have certain rules that we have to follow as far as stating your name. But there is a public hearing scheduled for the town council meeting when anyone can talk. There has been some letters that were forwarded to you from opposition, and certainly if you want to allow people to talk, you can do that. But we do have to follow the procedures, and this was not advertised. It will be advertised as a public hearing at the April 13th town council meeting. I'm sorry, I think it'll be in the May town council meeting. No, April. April's just
Next
a week
week.
away. Yeah, no, we have to have 2 weeks to do it. Okay, so it'll be at the May town council meeting. So, like I said, you're welcome to let people speak, but we just have to follow the rules. And it has always been a PUD for the last 25 years. It's what those uses, I think the argument is what the use is in the PUD. Multifamily, family, commercial is all allowed in a PUD. It's what it was originally approved for. And I think there's some discrepancy in some other documents that this was said it would be a residential single family, but what document presides is gonna be probably the question.
Well, this is not a public hearing, but I will let people speak, but keep it short and make sure it's only on the subject we are talking about here.
Yes, go ahead, Jim.
But one at a time, and they need to state their name.
Yes, please state your name.
My name is Chris White. I live on Miss Bessie Drive. So in the state of Maryland, there is a rule that's called the most restrictive rule. So the covenant says that it refers to garages, it refers to each individual dwelling. And with the most restrictive rule, it goes to the covenants versus the PUD. So that rules with the land, the covenants and restrictions. And it also states that the Williamsburg thing, I noticed that it has black windows, a rooftop rails, a whole lot of glass, vertical
Well,
siding.
we're not here discussing it
Okay.
about
Okay.
architectural at this point.
Okay.
And we did get your letter.
And my last question was, has anyone notified the hospital, the helipad?
That really has nothing to do with us either.
Okay.
Yes, sir?
I'll try and be brief, not easy for me. You can call me Mr. Ocean City. You all know what that means, who have read the book. Let me just say a couple things. We're very lucky to have Mike Bailey doing what he does. But I have to disagree with my friend. I don't think this complies with the comprehensive plan. I don't think this complies with ordinance 203, which establishes that PUD M, the most recent PUD M. I'll be very brief. Why I think it's important is because your recommendation to the council goes a long way. It has a meaning. And I think there are other things that need to be taken into consideration before you make that recommendation to them for approval, as he is recommending you do. I guess I don't have time to go into them, but I've got them right here.
Thank you.
That's it.
Yes.
So, I'm Catherine Trueblood, I also live on Miss Bessie Drive. And so my concern, and I'll be sure to be at the town council meeting next week, because that sounds like the more appropriate forum for some of this, but since I'm talking to planning and zoning, I do want to say, for consideration, Miss Bessie Drive has awfully high traffic. There are 3 bus stops on Miss Bessie Drive, one at Miss Bessie and Brandon, one at Miss Bessie and Jennifer, one at Miss Bessie and Joanne. And I don't know what kind of, looking into or surveying of the traffic on that street, because it is a part of the town, has been conducted, and how this would impact that. But there are an awful lot of kids that get on and off the bus on Miss Bessie Drive. I am concerned as a mom of 2 kids on that street about increased traffic because of an apartment building coming. just because there's 2 parking spaces for each person does not mean that they won't have guests and things like that. There's already quite a few folks that speed up and down Miss Bessie, even though it is residential in that space. So I just want to throw that out there, that concern.
We'll take that into consideration, thank you.
It is May 11th is the date that the public
Okay.
hearing.
Thank you.
Laschelle, can you talk to that most restrictive rule point at all?
Well, I'm certainly not an attorney either, so I can't really speak to that rule.
Generally, if I may, you have the HOA covenants, which is what they are, and they are mainly based on aesthetics or maintenance, anything that's kind of governing the maintaining of the subdivision HOA. And then you have the PUD, which is a legally, it's a zoning and land use approval. So you can, obviously there's instances, for example, where if the town would allow a fence that was 6 feet tall, but the HOA only allows a fence that's 4 foot tall, the HOA would prevail, because that's the more restrictive covenant. But on a legal principle, when you have a zoning of a property that has PUD approval, and you kind of have the layers of legalities, so you have state law, you have the zoning, the municipal law, and then the HOA private covenants would be below that. There shouldn't be anything in the HOA covenants that would restrict a land use, so it wouldn't have any applicability in this sense. There are some instances where HOA covenants would preside based on aesthetics, maintenance.
And we did take this to our town attorney, and he did say, we took the plat to him and showed him, because it did have on there that would be residential single family, and we wanted to know if that would override the zoning, and he said it would not, as far as the plat goes. We did not take the declaration of covenants to him. I didn't really see anything in the declaration that overrode the zoning anyway. It was more about aesthetics and that sort of thing. But he said that the plat did not override the zoning, and it's clearly been PUD for at least 25, 30 years. You're welcome to, if there's questions we need to clarify, you can, just table the motion until next month and bring back more information for you. There is another quad right on the other side of Singletree, but on Doctors Crossing Road. So it's 4 units. It's doctors, visiting doctors. The hospital built it. It's the exact same use that's being proposed here. There's no covenants that say you can't rent it to someone else, but the intent was exactly like the other one on the other side of Singletree, which is right by the stormwater management pond at the corner of Doctors Crossing going into Clark's Rest. It's the exact same type of facility.
Okay, I'll take those 3 and then we're going to cut it off.
My name is Roger Mattingly. I live at 23160 Aloysius Court. I'm 1 door down from where this building's going to be. And I did send all of y'all an email and asked you to come out, take a look at where the location was. Because it's Dr. Boyd's office, then the Bell family piece of property, and then this proposed lot, and then the rest of them are all single-story homes. This building put in there between all these single-story bungalows is going to be towering down on us, looking in our backyards at what we do and what we don't do. And I just think it's the wrong place for this. I'm not against that. I think they need to make that maybe lower it down to a single story. Laschelle was talking about the one on Doctors Crossing, the quad. That's all single story. That's not 2-story. They're 4 quad, 4 single stories. So the reason I'd asked y'all to go out and take a look, because this will be a huge building looking down on people right here that have been living there for years and years and years. So I'd just like to put that in consideration. Thank you very much.
I was
I'd like to say something.
just new to the board at that time, and my one question to you, if I'm glad you're here today, is why weren't those 2 lots built out at the same time the rest of them?
Because those people, Ernie can speak for that, but those people chose those lots so nobody would build behind them or near them. That was the reason that, and I think Ernie Bell can tell you for that.
So they didn't want to build a single family
Correct.
house at the time?
At that time.
At that time, and then there was the lot that this is proposed on belonged to Jim Raley. And of course, Jim since died.
I was just wondering why.
And the house was sold, the lot was sold then.
Okay, there was 2 others that wanted to speak.
Go ahead, no, go ahead.
Well, I'm Fred Calvert. I live on Kitty Court on 2 lots from this proposed apartment building. And Mr. Bailey, thank you for the information you gave me as far as drawings go. The drawing shows a 25-foot high building, which is incorrect. It doesn't include the roof. Also, strange enough, there's a 3rd level open deck. And I see that as a party deck. This whole building doesn't belong next to our beautiful community of traditional homes. And I don't want to get into architecture, I can, but I took pictures this morning of the buildings you mentioned on Moakley Street that are traditional designs that fit well in the Singletree community, I think. If this building design may look good somewhere else, and that's fine.
Later,
But I'm-
when you go to the hearing, the open hearing.
But it's actually
Oh,
30,
and one more person wanted to speak, I think.
Thank you. The way I read the covenants and restrictions, and I don't think the covenants and restrictions are what is necessary to not recommend this for approval. I think 203, and I think the comprehensive plan do that on its own. And the least restrictive, or the more restrictive theory is that if the zoning says one thing and the covenants and restrictions say another, in Maryland, typically the most restrictive, in this case, which would be the covenants and restrictions, would apply. That's number one. Number two, there is no homeowners association on the 6 lots on this plat. But if you read them, it makes it very clear, 2 things. Who can enforce them? Any lot owner, all the lot owners, and where can they be enforced? Not only in a court of law, according to what it says, they can be enforced in any competent jurisdiction. To me, that means the town of Leonardtown is a competent jurisdiction to decide whether or not there is a violation. But zoning is one thing, and covenants and restrictions are another. I would urge you, at this point, not to defeat it or not to not recommend it because of the covenants. I think it should not be recommended because of what it does, which are things you should consider. Just because it meets those requirements.
We get your point, and I understand all that.
Thank you.
can I ask any more
You
questions?
did ask one question.
Why do you think it's not aligned with the comprehensive plan?
Why do I think it is? Oh, I'm ready. That's what you never asked. Let me read you a couple of lines from it, okay? And this talks about community profile, character, and design. What does it say? Small town character, small town charm. That, in that place, is not small town character and charm. Let me read you the definition.
I don't think we need to have.
You know what it means.
No, I know, but we don't need to have that.
This ain't the appropriate
This
place
is not the place
for that,
Bring that to your open hearing.
and I will.
Okay.
Believe me, if I'm here.
Very good, Lori.
I think we need to make a motion.
What's the next process after this?
Yes.
You can maybe explain that, I might know everybody too.
The planning commission is simply tasked today to make a recommendation to town council that will promote the public hearing, and council will at that time, be able to say whether this is an appropriate development for the PUD.
And if it does, that doesn't come back to us for anything else,
It will come back.
for like design and
Well,
everything?
yeah, absolutely.
As usual.
Yes.
When you say appropriate development for the PUD, does that include, you're just talking about what a PUD encompasses?
So, I'm saying that the town council will review this to whether or not this is a compatible, allowable, construction within this PUD.
Okay. Like the other Because there is a precedent for it.
Correct. I mean, we have one already.
Yeah.
And we even have, single-family dwelling units, I wanna call them condominiums, but, that actually have party walls. They're two houses put together essentially. There's 10 of those. So,
Where,
Yeah.
where are they?
Townhouses, not apartment buildings.
I think that we need to clarify with our attorney, first of all, about the covenants and if that we, because none of us are attorneys. So we can either do that and bring it back to you, or if you're comfortable making your recommendation, we can have that for the council at the public hearing. So either way, you can either table it or you can make your recommendation and we'll have that information.
So we
for-
could make a motion if we recommend it, but it would have to be reviewed.
Yes, that you would want us to check into it with our attorney, but I mean, we'll do that anyway, but
We approve with condition of that.
sure.
Yeah,
We can make it part of the motion, or like I said, we will definitely do that. Either way.
Okay, well, I'll move to recommend approval with condition, checking with town attorney, for case number 43-25, lot 11, phase 8, Singletree subdivision, for a 3,600 square foot, two-story quad duplex with associated parking infrastructure for concept approval to the town council.
Also,
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Okay, it has passed. But. So the final order of business is our review of the in-house permits. And does anybody have any comments or questions about those? Okay, does anybody have anything else they want to